you still can. And before I go any further, tell me in the comments, what city are you listening from right now? I want to know where this message is reaching and who out there is ready to build the next chapter of their life with intention. Also, if this message already feels like something you need, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to this channel, not because it helps me, but because it keeps you connected to the kind of motivation and clarity you deserve from this moment on. We're in this together. Let me share something with you. 3 years ago, I spoke to a man in Florida. He was 67. He'd been retired for 5 years, owned a small home, had a pension, but he was quietly, deeply unhappy. Not because of his circumstances, but because he believed, in his words, "I'm just waiting out the years." Now pause and ask yourself, do you feel like you're just waiting out the years? Because that's not life. That's delay. That's drifting. That's not what you were made for. Fast forward to today, that same man is running a local nonprofit. He helps other seniors who are lonely. He told me recently, "I've never been this alive, and I started all this at 68. Here's what I want you to hear. Age doesn't determine vitality, belief does. Your life can change radically, but the moment it starts isn't in your body. It's not even in your bank account. It starts in your decision." And if you stay with me through this video, I'm going to walk you through the most powerful mindset shift that I've seen completely transform lives after 60. That's the promise. Stay with me to the end, because that part is where everything turns. But for now, we need to begin with the lie most people carry without realizing it. Here's the first principle. You're not too old to start something new. You've just been trained to think your age is a reason to stop. That belief is what's holding most people hostage. It's what makes a person settle for television instead of reading, what makes them stop building, stop dreaming, stop reaching. But here's the truth, and it's not just motivational talk, it's neuroscience. Your brain still builds new pathways well into your 80s. That means your ability to learn, change, and grow is biologically alive. So the enemy isn't age, the enemy is stagnation. That mental fog that creeps in when we stop setting new goals. Let me ask you something. What's one thing you always said you'd do when you had time? What if that time is now? Write it in the comments. One thing, one spark. Let's light the fire. I've often said this. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you're not innovating enough. That applies to you too. If you haven't failed at anything new recently, it may be because you haven't tried anything new. And I'm not saying you should launch a rocket. I'm saying launch a new routine, launch a new skill, launch a new version of yourself, even if it's a small shift. That's how momentum starts. And maybe, just maybe, this part of your life isn't about success in the traditional sense. Maybe it's about contribution, about meaning, about legacy. If you're a person of faith, consider this. Even Moses started his purpose at 80. He heard from God in a desert when everything seemed quiet. Sometimes that silence is preparation. If you've been praying, this message might be part of the answer. So here's what I want you to do today. 1, write down one thing that still excites you, something you've always wanted to explore. 2, write down what has stopped you before, name the barrier. 3, then write down one tiny step you could take in the next 48 hours to begin moving toward it. It could be checking a book from the library, calling someone, watching a tutorial, starting a walking routine. Small steps change lives, especially when they become habits. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you a mindset technique that I've seen transform ordinary people into high-impact thinkers even after 60. But here's the challenge. You must unlearn the idea that slow equals safe, because staying still is the most dangerous thing you can do right now. If you're still here, I just want to say you're already ahead of most people. Most people hear a truth that stirs something inside them, and then they scroll past it. But you stayed, and that tells me something very powerful about you. You're not here to be entertained. You're here because something inside you still wants more from life. And that desire, that's the beginning of your reinvention. Now let's keep building that momentum. You see, there's a subtle trap that often shows up after 60. It's this quiet slide from living to just surviving. You've worked hard, raised children, paid the bills, navigated crisis after crisis. You've done the hard things for decades. And now society says, you've done enough. Sit back, be quiet, let time take over. But I don't believe in that. And I don't think you do either, because deep inside, there's something in your spirit that wants this next part of your life to mean something. You don't want to just survive these years. You want them to matter. So here's what I want you to remember today. You do not owe the world your silence. You owe the world your wisdom. You have decades of experience, judgment, clarity, and insight that others desperately need right now. That is your power. Can I ask you something? If there was one message you could leave behind for your grandchildren, your friends, your neighbors, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. I want to read it, because that message might just be the beginning of something bigger than you expected. It could turn into a blog, a book, a local class, a podcast, a weekly letter. You don't have to be tech savvy. You just have to be honest. That's what people crave today. Think of it like this. When NASA launches a rocket, the moment that takes the most energy isn't when it's cruising in space, it's when it breaks the Earth's gravity. That's where the resistance is strongest. That's where most of the fuel is burned. Now, the same is true for you. Right now, you might feel like breaking old patterns takes too much energy, that trying something new is too overwhelming. But once you break gravity, once you push through the resistance, everything gets lighter. You begin to float, you begin to glide, and most of all, you begin to feel free. Let me tell you about a woman I met at a speaking event in Colorado. Her name was Karen. She was 72. She said, Elon, I used to be a school teacher. I loved teaching, but after I retired, I just stopped. I didn't think anyone would want to learn from me anymore. Then one day, her granddaughter asked her to help with homework. That led to tutoring a few neighborhood kids. Within 6 months, Karen started a free after-school program in her community center. At 73, she was shaping young minds again, not because she had to, but because she realized you never stop being a teacher. You just stop giving yourself permission to share what you know. What's your Karen story waiting to happen? One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself right now is this: who am I becoming, and what story am I telling myself about what's still possible? Because identity is the engine of behavior. You can't change your future by just changing your schedule. You have to change what you believe about who you are. And maybe that's the biggest barrier for most people. Over 60, they've let the world write the ending of their story too early. But what if you rewrote it? What if instead of "I'm too old," the new line was, "This is the decade I finally give the world my best self"? If you've been wondering, is there still purpose for me? Yes. Yes, there is. You were not created to simply fade out. There is something deeply spiritual about legacy, about choosing to build, even when the world says you've done enough. God does not stop speaking once you hit retirement. He still whispers ideas, opportunities, direction. You just need to slow down enough to hear again. So here's what I want you to do next. 1, write a new statement about who you are becoming. Not who you were, not what you did for a living, who you are now becoming. 2, speak it aloud. Say it each morning this week. Something like, I am someone who grows every day. I build, I teach, I love, I contribute. 3, then ask yourself, what's one thing this version of me would do today? Take that step. It could change the course of your week or your life. Now, we've talked about momentum, about shifting from survival to significance, about identity. But next, I want to show you a pattern I've seen over and over again in people who completely reinvent themselves, even in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I'm going to give you something most people don't even realize they have control over. If no one has told you this today, I want to say clearly, you still have power, you still have potential, and you still have time. But time, at this stage, must be treated like oxygen, not something to waste, but something to breathe deeply and use deliberately. Now, if you've stayed with me this far, it's because you know deep down there's still something in your life that hasn't fully come alive yet. And I told you I'd show you a pattern I've seen in people who reinvent their lives after 60. That pattern starts with this. You must take control of your environment, or your environment will quietly control you. And here's what I mean. You can have the best mindset, you can write inspiring affirmations, you can even pray with full faith, but if you wake up every day surrounded by noise, clutter, doubt, and distractions, it dulls your spirit. It drains your energy before you even begin. So let me ask you, what does your environment say about your future? Is it supporting the person you're becoming, or silently pulling you back into who you used to be? Most people don't realize it, but after 60, the environment becomes even more influential. Why? Because you're spending more time at home. Your circle is smaller, your routines are more predictable, and that means your surroundings have more impact on your thoughts than ever before. Let me tell you about a man named Robert. He was 74, lived alone in a quiet suburb in Ohio. He told me, "I want to write a book, Elon, but I just can't seem to focus." So I asked him, "Where do you try to write?" He said, "On the couch with the television on, next to a pile of unopened mail and newspapers." See the problem? Environment was sending signals of confusion, noise, and distraction, not creation, not purpose. So we made one simple change. He cleared out a small desk in a sunlit corner. No clutter, just a notebook, a pen, and a reminder card that read, "I'm still becoming." 3 months later, he had 30,000 words written. Not because he had more time, but because he had more focus. So I'll ask you again, what small change can you make in your environment this week that tells your mind, this is who I'm becoming now? Is it a reading chair with a Bible and a journal beside it? Is it finally removing the things in your space that remind you of pain instead of possibility? Is it posting a photo of the person you want to become? Drop it in the comments. What change will you make this week? I want to hear your vision. And if you're still watching, give this video a like, because the second half of what I'm about to share is where it all begins to connect. Here's something no one tells you directly. It's not too late, because your future is still longer than you think. The average American life expectancy is now around 77. That means if you're 60, you potentially have 17 more years. And not just years, active, wise, capable years. Do you realize what you can build in 17 years? Tesla was built in less time than that. SpaceX, too. Entire legacies can be born in that window. So stop saying it's too late. Instead, start asking, if I had 15 more healthy years, what would I build with them? You have more time than you think, but only if you stop wasting it. I believe God doesn't just give you time, He gives you seasons. And the season you're in right now, it's not the season of retirement, it's the season of refinement. You've been through the fire, and now you have wisdom, clarity, and calm. And maybe God is asking, what will you do with what I've already given you? This part of your life isn't the epilogue. It might be the most important chapter. Let's make this real. If you want to change your life after 60, here are 3 daily habits. I recommend simple, powerful, and transformative. 1. The 30-minute morning rule. Before anything else, no phone, no news. Spend 30 minutes alone with your thoughts, a prayer, or your journal. This grounds you in clarity. 2. The 1 new thing rule. Every day, expose your brain to something new. A podcast, a documentary, a book, a new language, or even a walk in a different direction. Your brain grows through novelty. 3. The 3-item list. Choose only 3 things to focus on each day. That's it. Overwhelm kills action, but focus ignites it. These aren't about being busy. They're about being intentional. Now, you've done the hard thinking. You've looked at your environment. You've challenged your identity. You've started to reclaim your energy. But in the final part of this message, I'm going to give you the exact mindset that pulls all of this together. It's the key that turns motivation into lasting transformation. It's what most people miss, and it's why many never follow through, no matter how inspired they feel. But you won't be one of them. Now, here's what I promised you from the very beginning. The shift that has helped thousands of people including those in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, not just survive this stage of life, but completely redefine it. It's simple, but it's not easy. Ready? The moment you stop living for comfort and start living for contribution, everything changes. Let's break that down. Most people after 60 are subtly taught to take it easy, to slow down, to entertain themselves into the sunset. But the truth is, comfort does not create joy. Comfort leads to boredom. Boredom leads to self-doubt. And self-doubt leads to decay. On the other hand, contribution creates life. When you start contributing again, your wisdom, your time, your care, your voice, you awaken something eternal. You stop counting the days and start making the days count. And the best part? Contribution doesn't require wealth. It doesn't require perfect health. It just requires willingness. Let me tell you about a man named Charles, 82 years old. He was living in San Diego, quiet life, widowed, no kids nearby. One day, he sat in on a church meeting about community service. Someone mentioned they needed someone to just listen to the men in the rehab center down the street. Charles volunteered, not because he knew how to fix anyone, but because he knew how to listen. He showed up once a week, asked questions, smiled, shared a few words. Within 1 year, that center had the highest recovery rate in their program's history. When asked why, one man said, "I stayed clean because I didn't want to let Charles down." That's contribution. So let me ask you something personal. Who still needs you to show up? Who is waiting for your voice? Whose life could shift simply because you decided not to give up on your own? Because, make no mistake, someone is watching you. Maybe it's your child. Maybe it's your neighbor. Maybe it's a younger version of you who's silently hoping, please don't quit on life. Show me it's still possible. And maybe, just maybe, God has kept you here because your story isn't finished yet. I believe deeply that there's a divine assignment on every life, and sometimes the later chapters hold the most power because they come with depth, with scars, with lessons, with fire refined into gold. So don't bury your gifts. Don't quiet your wisdom. Don't underestimate your reach. Your next move might not just change your life, it might change someone else's eternity. I want you to picture this. It's 1 year from now. You've changed just a few things, not everything, just a few small but consistent choices. You have a routine that gives you energy. You've cut out the noise and filled your time with meaning. You've found one place to contribute, even if it's just an hour a week. You're sleeping better, feeling lighter, laughing more, moving more. You're no longer just aging, you're building again. That's what's possible. And if you're thinking, but Elon, I've failed before, I've tried and stopped, I've lost momentum. Let me say this clearly. Failure is not the opposite of progress, it's part of it. What matters isn't what you tried and stopped. What matters is what you'll still decide to begin today. So here's how you begin your transformation today. 1, find one way to contribute. Could be mentoring, could be writing, could be praying for others, could be helping someone learn a skill you've mastered. Start small, but start visible. 2, build a daily anchor. Anchor your day in 15 to 30 minutes of purpose. That could be scripture reading, journaling, walking, learning. Let your mind reconnect with meaning every day. 3, speak life to yourself. Every morning say this: I still have purpose, I still have breath, I still have something to build. Let that become your inner rhythm. Look, you may not have the speed you once had, but you do have the wisdom you never had before. And right now, in this moment, you are still capable of remarkable transformation. I didn't record this just to motivate you. I did it because someone needs you to come alive again, because your voice matters, because your story isn't finished, because your best chapter may still be unwritten. So here's my final message to you, and I hope you carry it with you. You are not done.